Um, I'll grab
Okay, sure.
normal. Channel.
That's fine. Okay, that's fine. Wait, that's fine with me.
He
Okay.
actually has a
So I'll take
channel
I'll take
for it.
one. I'll
Oh,
take one.
dang,
What
he
you
has a.
taking?
Okay,
Who you taking,
okay.
nigga? Matter of fact, I
You
think I'll.
said Anna.
Yeah. Yeah, you take Anos, I'll take Goku. That's fine. Yeah. Main, I'll take my main, I guess. All right. So are we gonna start?
I'm getting
We gonna
scans
start?
first. Actually, Drip Sauce's video had a really good scan. I okay.
Who the fuck is raiding? The fuck? No way. Some niggas are raiding. Oh, it's just that a lot of
Rating?
motherfuckers are joining.
Okay,
That's
never mind.
fine.
Okay, I'm about to say, bro. People rating a server where me and you were debating is actual like meat riding, bro. Bro.
Okay, so we can start now. We can start now.
Let me go to let me go
Okay,
to let
so
me go to
no, Booga, Booga. Okay, so if we're assuming this would be a dialectical distribution, can we like take some prerequisites or not?
what do you want?
Do you want to take some prerequisites or not? Basically,
What
rules.
prerequisites do you want?
What prerequisites do I want? How do I say this? How about just no interrupt? Okay, how about this one? We don't interrupt each other the moment we talk. Okay. All right. Is that good enough for you? Also, can some of you niggas
Um
invite? Can some of you niggas invite Shady here? Yeah, invite Shady. Better watch or something. Okay. Anyways, go. Anyways, yeah. My premise is that my character beats your character by outscaling. That would be following to the conclusion based upon the evidence I'm gonna give. Give, sorry. Yeah. Booga, you there, nigga?
okay.
Okay, so
Yeah, I'm here.
you agree
I'm
with the
just getting
prerequisites.
scans.
You
I'm
agree.
just getting scans. Just please give me a sec.
Okay, hold up. So it's you agree with the prerequisites or not? That
I'm
we're
not gonna
not
neglect.
allowed to talk
Yeah,
to each other.
sure.
Okay, we are not supposed to talk each other over each other. That's fine. No bore as well. That's fine. And we're just gonna argue standard logic, which pretty much we can argue for anything.
All right, I'm still getting scans because I know that Drip's video has like a really good Anno scan.
Uh huh. Okay. Okay. Regardless, can we start though? I think I'll scale first. No, never mind. No, you scale first. Okay. So if we already started, can you state your premise, please?
Hold on. Oh yeah, my premise is that Axiom Annos outscales and outhexes.
Jesus, what the fuck? Who add this in here? Okay, sure. You're okay. I get that. So can you scale now your character? You know what? You could rap for anything at this point.
I could scale first, but I'm trying to look at the dang. Okay, hold on.
Sure, that's fine. Yeah, this was supposed to be
I'm
me versus Bro. I can't believe this shit changed. Oh my god.
all right, bro. I need to change my dang search engine. Sorry for wasting all time. I have a lot of my scans on my phone, which I can't really use all that well, given the fact that it gets worse and worse. So,
Cool. Okay. Now can you scale or can you not? Oh, by the way, I'll be hosting a trial. To some of those niggas who believes I'm a pedophile, you can come at me. I'm gonna make a server of a trial, by the way.
Bro, I can't. I'm gonna look so dumb if I like say that destroying a tree or something is above dimensionality. Even though I can't argue.
No, listen, knowing your scales, bro, it's gonna be dumb as shit. No, but it doesn't matter. You can go. Oh my god. Oh my god.
Okay, bro.
So can we start?
Skins I have now are garbage, bro. I can't. I could still argue something good with the skins I
Bro,
still
at
have
this
right
point,
now.
this
It's
kind of
just
seems
really
boring. Like some of them are leaving, nigga, because you're being late. Should I scale first? You know what? That's what I'm
okay. You
scaling
know
first.
what?
Since you're gonna take it too long, bro. I'm gonna scale first, okay? All right. So you can have travel to the external world.
Actually, I'll scale first. I'll scale first. I'll scale first. I'll scale first. I'll
Okay,
scale
cool, cool,
first.
cool,
Okay.
cool. You can scale first. Go ahead and scale first.
All right. What scans channel are we using? Just general.
Yeah, sure, general. Yeah, okay. And some niggas ping. Me versus Booga. Join stage. Stage now,
Okay.
or
So
you're
I'm
dead.
sending. No.
Whatever.
I got one
Copy
more. I
settings.
think. Let me
What?
see if
Can
I
copy
right.
settings. Okay, copy settings. What? Got it. I swear, if no niggas gonna join, I'm gonna be so pissed, bro. The same way I wasted my time with this nigga named Val.
Okay. So do I just start stealing now? Okay. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
sure, scale.
We'll wait for people to join. We'll wait for people to join a little bit, and then we're gonna
I think this is
preparing for
enough.
back.
I think this is enough. I think this is enough. They're gonna join. There's more gonna join anyways. But yeah, we can start.
Okay.
So yeah, you can start. Bro.
Okay, so for the first scan, it says that God is order. Order is essentially placement within causality, right? And then it is stated that there's no single future is decided with the love of an after. There are infinite possibilities, and people hold hope in their hearts and seize a better future. Now it is said that Venedstoa will destroy anything, no matter how tough, eternal, or infinite it is. If it's inside of anything within the verse, that would obviously entail causality, which is the thing that actually supports dimensionality being existent, and it will also destroy it alongside its reason. So since it's able to destroy the reasoning for dimensionality, as well as all logical principles pertaining to that, that would obviously make Anos at the very least outerversal. Even more evidence upon this is that it says on that final scan that this person literally dodged the hit and it still hit, implying that he's not bounded by the three laws of logic that are beyond dimensionality. So hacks would obviously be a superiority over all laws of logic or all logical connotations or all actual semantics or reasoning, right? And then we actually have the fact that he would also be at the very least beyond dimensionality. So hacks and scaling would outscale Goku.
Okay, so hold up. So you're saying that okay, this scan implies that it can pretty much just break through all of the reasons, and you're trying to argue that it pretty much, no matter how tough, eternal or infinity, it could causally has a connection towards dimensionality. Yes or no? Is it not?
Yeah, so it would have to be because causality is essentially a contingency for dimensionality to exist. If causality does not exist, dimensionality does not exist, as dimensionality pertains to existence. And if
Oh,
something has
yo,
never
chill
existed,
down, nigga, chill down. Oh my god. Okay, hold up. Sorry, I was called by my mom. Yeah, you can go. You can continue.
yeah. So since causality is contingent upon, or dimensionality is contingent upon causalities, because causality cannot exist, or dimensionality cannot exist without causality, right? Because of the fact that dimensionality is an existential thing, and something cannot never exist, does not exist, and will never will exist, and still exist at the same time. That'd be a contradiction. So causality must
Yeah.
exist for
Okay.
dimensionality to exist, and if Anos is beyond all possible principles of causality, logic, and reference to all infinite possibilities regarding causality, and even can destroy the reasoning behind all this logic in question, then that would obviously mean that Anos would be at the very least outerversal with basically omnipotence as hacks.
Okay, I get you. I got you. I got you. So okay, so based upon the scans, you're saying that Anos can pretty much destroy infinite possibilities with the same way of the causality. Since you're saying that it connects towards dimensionality, based upon the scans, wouldn't imply it can pretty much break through every dimensionality because it could destroy the very concept of that said thing being causality. Yes or no? So okay,
Basically.
hold up. Basically, yeah, okay, basically. What I'm going to say here is that this kind of presupposes the causality upon the entire verse. If you're saying that, okay, this can break an infinite possibilities, that's with the causality in question. However, though, this causality in question is limited to a specific verse that I'm trying to argue, and the specific verse is where Anos is. So if you're saying that, okay, Anos can pretty much destroy causality, can destroy reasons, and can destroy pretty much infinite possibilities, which you're trying to connect with these denotations, then this would kind of imply it could affect all dimensionalities. However, though, as I said, this would just again presuppose the cosmology's limitations and would pretty much like revolve around all of these dimensionality, the all dimensional axes. Sure, dimensionality can, and no, I meant cannot exist without causality, right? However, though, as I already said before, the only thing that is limited this thing or the scale in question is the universe, okay? Is the cosmology in this question. So if I were to say, oh, I can manipulate infinite amounts of possibilities, and I already manipulated causality in this case, right? Causality is obviously where a flow of events happen. So the flow of events is mostly or like limited to that 3D cosmology, which is where you are at. It doesn't have any revelations. So all dimensional axes. So this would kind of just presuppose where it actually denotes at. So can you go ahead and provide some evidence on that one, please?
Okay, rather a refutation. So the argument that you're essentially trying to make here is that the verse does not correspond to all of dimensionality, and therefore, Anos being above all of dimensionality does not exist. Is obviously a non sequitur, given the fact that if it's stated that he's above causality, right, and causality is a contingency upon dimensionality, no matter how much axes dimensionality has, or no matter how much axes the cosmology actually contains, right? If the cosmology only contains three dimensions, for example, it still would entail that dimensionality would exist, which dimensionality contains all further dimensions, right? Does it have to exist within the cosmology? No. All it would have to entail is that it still exists. And since Anos is obviously above it, like semantically and also syllogistically, this would obviously entail that he would still be above all these concepts,
Okay,
right?
okay, hold on, hold on.
And
Yes, yes, got it. Yeah, okay, so yeah, basing upon what you said, it doesn't really need to contain no dimensional axis. It just has to exist. And since Anos above causality in general, therefore it could obviously imply you be above every dimensionality. Is that what you're trying to syllogically argue? Yes,
I'm
obviously.
simply
Okay.
saying that even
No,
if
no,
you
no.
argue,
Okay, so the scan. Okay, so the scan says it obviously destroys reasons behind it and can bypass anything logically. All right. And since you're trying to argue, since the causality in the verse is inferior to Anos and dimensionality does exist in the verse, therefore this would logically connect with Anos can be basically above every dimensional limitations. As such, because causality is the very basis to why dimensionality can exist. And yeah, that's pretty much what you're trying to argue. However, as I already said, like if the cosmology is pretty much three-dimensional and you're above the causality in question, doesn't it logically connects with or aligns with the cosmology scaling, which is where it is three-dimensional? So the causality you're above it would be like three-dimensional. It wouldn't just be pretty much presupposing an objective value. An objective value in this case is the fact that, well, okay, you need to transcend pretty much every dimensional axis. And that is the case which we're trying to argue or you're trying to syllogistically follow, which is obviously again a presupposition. So it's not objectively true. It has no objective value on the scans, okay?
again, you already conceded that causality was actually an
Why?
objective construct. It's already above dimensionality. Yet you tried and backtracked and then said, but
No,
after that,
no, no.
that it would
I never
correspond to the
conceded that. Wait,
cosmology
wait,
in
Booga, Booga.
question.
Let me clarify. I never conceded that. For one, I said causality is one of the main basis or the main purposes of how dimensionality can exist, which is what you're trying to argue. Dimensionalities cannot exist without causality. Doesn't indicate that causality has some complex superiority towards dimensionality. That's what you're trying to argue. And that's what I'm trying to argue as well. That's the main basis of my point.
If causality must exist for dimensionality to exist, and it's not the other way around, then obviously that would entail that causality would must be superior to dimensionality, given the fact that
No,
one cannot exist without the other and one can exist without the other. So what I'm trying to
no,
say
that's a
right
false
here,
equivalent. That's a false
essentially,
equivalent.
is I'm
No,
false
that's a false
equivalent.
equivalent.
There's no interruption, but let me continue giving my argument, right?
Also, that's a
So
non-sequitur.
if we say the our axiom, so if we say right, if causality, if dimensionality exists, causality exists, and then we say if causality exists, dimensionality does not need to exist, then logically speaking, causality has to exist before dimensionality, and for this to be the case, and dimensionality is within causality, that would obviously entail that causality is above dimensionality. Next, the scan that I sent over
No,
here
that
is
does not.
all laws and reason, no matter
No,
how
no, no,
infinite
no,
or
no, no. That's not
it
what
is.
it. Listen, listen.
The first
Okay,
itself,
I'm getting
right?
your point. You're trying to assert that okay, causality doesn't need any reasons to not exist if dimensions don't exist, right? However, dimensions need some reasons as to why that if causality didn't exist, it does not exist as well. However, though, that's still a false equivalence or a non sequitur. It doesn't really answer the point. Let's say hypothetically, okay? Let's say that if I were to like if I got like this remote, okay? Mike Tyson cannot harm me, and this remote gives me powers in that pretty much if Mike Tyson punches me, he cannot hit me. It's basically an infinity, right? Okay? So Mike Tyson cannot beat me. However, I can beat Mike Tyson with the remote, okay? So my analogy here is the fact that, well, all right, Mike Tyson has no purpose of beating me since the purpose in question is relating towards the remote in this case. And then obviously, the same way to the causality and dimensionality, dimensionality has no purpose of existence without causality, okay? So the purpose of victory in this case is not existent to Mike Tyson. However, that doesn't mean I'm infinitely or complexity above Mike Tyson denotatively in terms of existence and in terms of power as a transcendental dimensionality existence, all right? That's just a non sequitur because the very purpose of all of that is within a specific reason. The specific reason can still be limited to that dimensionality or that plane, okay? So if that is the case, then therefore it's not completely beyond dimensionality. It's it's the main basis dimensionality. That does not mean it's beyond dimensionality as a whole. That's basically the main basis of my argument. Okay, so I want you to please give evidence. Causality has complex structures infinitely above dimensionality. Go ahead.
Well, that's not even the claim that I made. But regarding to your analogy, you said that just because I hold a remote that claims or the axiomatically asserts that that Mike Tyson cannot hurt the person, right? The person does not necessarily have to be superior to Mike Tyson. While this is true, what would actually be more analogous to my argumentation would be that the remote would be more superior to Mike Tyson. And in your analogy, the remote must be superior to Mike Tyson, given the fact that the remote is able to directly manipulate Mike Tyson and completely stop Mike Tyson into beating somebody that is weaker than him. So the remote must be superior to Mike Tyson in this case and would support my analogy or my argument here that I'm trying to make. My argument I'm trying to make here is very simple. If dimensionality is inside of causality, right, and causality can exist without dimensionality being in existence, this would obviously entail that since causality is the thing that limits dimensionality and overall overarches dimensionality, it must be superior. Now, with this being said, all laws of logic, all infinite possibilities, and all this stuff is all dwarfed by Anos, and this would obviously include the causality that is inside within this cosmology, right? So this would still guarantee that Anos is at the very least out reversal and can manipulate all laws of logic as well as that. So you could argue that if you were to scale the laws of logic to a civic level, he can be higher,
Oh my god.
but regardless,
This is holy shit. Okay, listen, this is just getting circular, but do you want me to give a reputation or you want to go to conclusions? Your choice.
I would
Yeah, go.
continue the debate. So go ahead.
Sure. Okay, sure, 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 sure. Okay, sure, sure, sure. So again, you said that it doesn't imply that I'm superior to Mike Tyson. However, the entire case is the main purpose, okay? The basis is the importance here, okay? The reason why Mike Tyson cannot harm me, and the reason why I can harm Mike Tyson was because of the remote, and the remote is the very basis, okay? However, though, the remote and me is still bounded by the specific framework where Mike Tyson exists or where he fights. This is the same way as causality. You're saying causality is what limits dimensionality, while dimensionality can't limit causality, obviously. However, though, that does not prove your claim. Why? Is because, okay, let's go back with my analogy. The remote limits what Mike Tyson can do to me, okay? He cannot punch me because I have some form of infinity, basically Gojo's ability, right? He cannot harm me. However, I can harm him, meaning the remote has some form of ability that can limit what Mike Tyson can do to me. However, that does not mean it has complex structures infinitely above Mike Tyson, which is what you're trying to argue with causality to have complex in structures infinitely above dimensionality. That's the main point you're trying to make. As I said, it doesn't matter. You don't just because you can limit something doesn't mean you're infinitely above it. You can still be on that specific framework where that something can exist, where you're limiting as that doesn't inherently entail, again, that you're beyond it infinitely. So what you're saying is pretty much argument by reputation and ad nauseum. Why? Because I'm pretty much like having some nausea in here, okay? So we can either go to conclusions or you want to continue. It's up to you.
Let me show you a little image that rhetorically proves my point,
Sure.
right?
Go ahead, nigga.
And then I'll
Sure.
apply it to your analogy here.
Okay.
All right. So, all right, we can see here that if we try to put this in the best analogous image possible to prove causality superiority, right? If we put the axiom that causality can exist without dimensionality, which is true, and dimensionality is within causality, obviously, because one can exist without the other. So obviously, dimensionality being inside causality and causality containing this thing would imply that the whole of causality is indeed uh superior to dimensionality here. Now, in regards to your analogy, you said that the reasoning would still be bound by Mike Tyson's existence, which is false. Just because you say that X cannot kill you, right, does not necessarily mean that X must exist. That is false. That is an absolute non sequitur. It's a false analogy. It doesn't work, right? And you also do claim that in the person in this case would also be not superior, and the remote would be irrelevant here. But the thing is, your analogy directly proves my point here. If the remote is directly able to restrict something or restrict one's existence from doing said thing, or be able to manipulate someone's existence to do said thing, right? Logically, this means that the remote is superior, and the remote and causality in both of our cases or arguments, these things must be the same thing, right? So obviously, yeah, Anos would just be above it. And even if you argue the whole reasoning thing, right? My scan literally says that Anos even destroys the reason behind said thing. So if you claim that within your analogy, it only exists because of the fact that Mike Tyson exists, Anos would still be able to destroy that with my own scan. So logically speaking, Anos would still be the level that I said.
Oh my fucking god, this is just being repetitive, bro. I'm not gonna lie. This is we're gonna be here forever. So it's either you wanna go to conclusions or not. So it's really just it's really how bad, how like long we can keep this up. I'm telling you, Booga. So what's up to you, okay? You want me to give a
Uh,
refutation? No.
I mean, that's not want or need. You kind of need to refute arguments that refute your argument. The only possible
Yeah,
justification for
obviously. Hold up. Yeah, you do need to refute an argument, obviously. But then again, the conclusions basis is to pretty much conclude the synthesis of the arguments. All right. You could either go circular with someone, but then at the same time you have to go with the very basis. What is the one? What the argument is? Which one is more logically, and which one is the more retarded? All right. Like you can repeat your arguments over and over again. That's what makes it circular. That's basically it. So there's a purpose in conclusions, all right? Sure, I may need to refute your arguments. That's obviously a necessity. So, do you want me to do it? Do you want me to do it, or are we actually gonna get to conclusions? Because if I'm just telling you, this won't necessarily work that much. Okay? Are we gonna do it?
well, what I was about to say before you said that was that the only thing that justifies going to conclusions is if you believe that your opponent did not refute the argument and is instead going circular rather than doing that, and so you go to conclusions to simply give the synthesis for the argument that actually went ahead and happened, and so therefore, we can go to
That's exactly my
conclusions
point. That's
circular.
exactly my point. We have two separate interpretations, okay? You interpreted that, okay, you're refuting my arguments. However, I'm interpreting you didn't refute my arguments, that you're going circular and I'm going circular as well, because we are not reaching a full synthesis to this argument. However, though, a conclusion is necessary due to figure out which one actually has the more logical conclusion. Is that not right? Or something? Can it
Well,
not be possible?
it's not like I fully believe here that we're going circular. I personally believe that you are doing different refutations, just that the refutations in question are weak. But if you're trying to
Oh,
say
yeah, I
what's
don't
the
know
last
what
thing you
you're
said again?
talking about. Okay, never mind, never mind. Oh, so you want me to refute the arguments? Okay, hold up.
Go
All
ahead.
right, so okay, let me get back to your image here. So okay, so the entire scan says if causality can exist without dimensionality, and dimensionality is objective inside causality, then this entails logically causality must be superior as it contains it. So can you repeat what you said, please? Because we went to a different thing, and I kind of forgot what you said.
Okay. So okay,
Just the
it's
dimensionality
it's
part.
it's a
Just
little
the
bit it's
dimensionality part. Yo, just the
what?
causality and dimensionality part. Just the dimensionality and causality part. The rest, I know. Now go ahead.
I
Make
mean,
it
the
quick.
rest is kind of just connecting it to your analogy and how you basically prove my point. But so with the causality and dimensionality part, right? You essentially argue that the reasoning for these things to exist is because of dimensionality. Not necessarily that, but in your analogy with the remote, you then say, "Oh, imagine the remote or the person is dimensionality or causality in this case," and then Mike Tyson killing the person is dimensionality in this case, right? And essentially, within said analogy, right, you're saying that doesn't mean the person is superior, right? So I said in response to this, it would mean the remote is superior, and this is what more so connects to causality within my point. You then respond to this saying that there have to be bounded by Mike Tyson's existence, which is not the case given the fact that Mike Tyson's existence, right, or the is not necessarily the thing that limits them in the situation, because one is able to fully manipulate their existence into doing something else, and if they were to not exist, for example, right, they would still be able to fulfill that specific function even regardless of their existence, right? So with that being said, then, right, even if you were to argue that, is what I said, right? My scan says, and I quote, he destroys the thing and the reasoning for said thing. So if you're trying to say that the reasoning behind the remote analogy and the Mike Tyson analogy is Mike Tyson's existence, then Anos would still logically destroy it.
Okay, I get your point. All right, now I can understand. Okay, so the first one, you're simply saying, okay, since this thing in question is the whole, the reasoning of this existence in the other case, so that would like argue it should be superior, right? All right, again, the remote, sure, it may have hold some superiority as it again can affect the existence of Mike Tyson. It could limit how Mike Tyson can fight, obviously, but I'm going to say something is the main point of your argument is that causality is obviously above dimensionality, has some form of superiority, right? However, I'm putting into question how causality has complex structures infinitely above dimensionality. The same way as fifth dimensional has complex structures infinitely above four dimensions, right? So let's get to this point, okay? You can affect, you can limit, you have like the ability to like give reasons as to how this being can pretty much affect you. However, you can still exist in that specific framework. The main point is if this thing in question that is affecting you is within that specific reality, the reality in question is the plane of this framework, okay? The character Mike Tyson and the character me is in that plane, it is in that framework. I have the ability to limit what Mike Tyson can do, what Mike Tyson exists, or what Mike Tyson can't do. Okay. However, again, I still am in that specific plane, which is the framework of our existence. The framework argues that we have no complex differentiations. Okay. I have no complex structures infinitely above Mike Tyson. I have grant slight superiority over Mike Tyson. Doesn't imply that I'm infinitely above Mike Tyson on a complex structure that he cannot perceive, understand, nor know what I'm doing. Okay? Your main argument is again a non sequitur, which is presupposing the fact causality again exists complexly, infinitely above dimensionality. I hope you get my point, okay? Your literal main reason is why causality is above dimensionality is because, oh, causality is the very reason as to why this thing can exist, and it is the very reason as to why dimensionality has limits, all of that, blah, blah, blah. Which I already like refuted again, and I said that presupposes a specific thing. And for the second argument, which you're trying to connect with Anos here, is that Anos can destroy causality. Again, this does not have any form of relevancy as to why, is because like the causality that Anos can destroy in question is three-dimensional. Okay, it doesn't matter, nigga. I already gave a reputation that the cosmology is what limited is existence of causality in question. So if you say Anos can destroy the complete reason towards causality, it would have a difference towards the Mike Tyson analogy. That's not the case here. because the causality is again what is put into question. Can it either exist infinitely above dimensionalities or exist in all dimensional axes? Which is again presupposing that is the case. It has no objective value. I already put that into question. You're repeating what you said over and over again. So can we go to conclusions? Because we are not getting anywhere with this argument. Please, can we go?
Okay, so you're saying that my main point is that causality is infinitely above dimensionality, or complexly infinitely above dimensionality, right? Now the main refutation to this is simple. I never made this claim. I only said that causality was above dimensionality, and and the requirements for outer versal is simply being superior to dimensionality. Now, I personally believe that if you are superior to a strong construct such as dimensionality, right, you would have to be infinitely superior to it, given the fact that if you say that you're above numbers, for example, right, and you try to quantify how much you'd have to be above numbers to be above numbers, you'd be beyond a civic framework as a whole, and therefore you would be infinitely above numbers. That's what I would personally argue. But at the same time, that's just you refuting our outer versal. If you were to argue that it's not infinitely complex about above it, it would just be above it, right? So it doesn't have to be infinitely above it. It would still
Wait,
be
wait,
outer
hold
versal,
up. Sorry, sorry,
right?
sorry. My
And
phone is. Sorry. Wait, hold up. My mom kind of called me, and it's my phone 7%. So can you repeat what you said?
okay,
The important part. I heard most of it,
so
but yeah,
your main
yeah.
point was that my main point is that causality is infinitely above dimensionality, and you refuted this claim over and over again. But the problem is, I never made this claim. It's a straw man, given the fact that all I said was that causality is above or superior to dimensionality, and that's already a qualifier for outer versal. And I also said that
Okay,
Anos can destroy the reasoning for
okay.
this. And obviously, Anos being able to destroy the reasoning for all of this would obviously entail that he must be out reversal, even regardless of that said fact. In fact, you even conceding to the fact that, okay, at the Anos' 3D, because of his cosmology, right, would already be surpassed given the fact that Anos can destroy the reasoning for it being 3D, as in this case. So theoretically, if you were to argue that Anos' cosmology would be 3D, or causality in his verse would be 3D, given the fact that his cosmology is 3D, right, that reasoning that his cosmology is 3D would obviously be surpassed, and therefore it would make him out of reversal anyway, right? And you also
Oh
have the
my
fact that he's able
fucking
to completely
god.
elect all three laws of logic pertaining to all of these things. And above all of these things, as also implied in the scan, no matter how infinite or eternal it is, which should be a statement that would be limited to the verse or anything that's stated within the verse in question.
Oh my
So
fucking
your other
god.
argument is that there's a specific plane of existence which holds these things together, and you would be saying, okay, there would still be bound by this plane. The problem is that this
Oh
theoretical
my
plane that you're
god.
making up, right, is something that would be beyond both causality and dimensionality if you're trying to go by your analogy, which doesn't refute anything if you try and say that they're limited by this plane, because obviously, if the plane, for example, is English, in which, oh, Anos is above causality, oh, Anos is above dimensionality, they'd still be bound by the plane of English. It doesn't mean anything. All that entails is that English is above both of these things. And you also have the fact, regardless, that Anos is above the laws of logic, so he'd still be above English in this
Oh my
particular case, even if you tried to
god.
argue that, making him theoretically like infinite layers above outer soul. But we're not even going to get into that much more. Your
Okay.
last claim was that causality is 3D, and that you already refuted this in this case. I already gave a sort of refutation, but more so just a superiority that Anos would have over this refutation. So I'll just refute this again, right? It's very simple. You already conceded yourself that causality is needed for dimensionality. And if you try and say that causality is 3D, even though causality, right, is something that is a necessary existence for dimensionality containing infinite dimensional structures, this cannot possibly be the case. Obviously, if X can contain infinite dimensional structures, right? And you already said that causality must be superior to this said thing, at least in this one case, then it would obviously have to entail that he'd be above it'd be above infinite dimensional structures in question, right? And would not be limited to any 3D framework, as that would be a contradiction in this particular case. So
Oh
therefore,
my
Anos must be
god.
superior to all of dimensionality
Oh
as
my god. Holy shit. Is that it? Like, genuinely, holy shit. That was a lot of yapping, nigga. I'm not gonna lie, bro. Okay, can I talk? Can I have my
well. Go ahead.
reputation now? Okay, sure. So a lot of your arguments is kind of relevant, not just part of the entire plain point, doesn't logically connect, and some of them are just pretty much repeating what you said. Okay. So the first part is that you never said, okay, that causality is infinite, is complex structure, infinitely above dimensionality. You just said it has some form of superiority to dimensionality. However, to be superior to dimensionality in this case, the existence of causality has to exist in a separate plane, and the separate plane obviously needs complex structures infinitely above dimensionality. Obviously, we're basing upon that. That's the necessity, okay? If you're saying that you're superior to dimensionality, and yet you still be in that with specific dimensional axes, then therefore you're not really completely and above that thing in question. The main point is if you're completely above dimensionality, you have to be existing beyond it, and existing beyond it would be existing beyond a logical framework, okay? So obviously, it is a necessary existence towards that thing. Okay, it's necessary for you to be above it in a complex structure, infinitely above dimensionalities, to argue that it exists above dimensionality as a whole. Okay, that by itself is already a form of logical denotations that denotes or implies the existence of this thing. You're presupposing it. This is just like the opposition. Okay, so what you just said is pretty much just aka how do I say this? The opposition to what in an existence of the dimensionality or how it works. For the second part, you're trying to argue that okay, the cosmology is limited to 3D and all of that. Anos can destroy the very reasonings of that thing, and no matter how tough or how internal or infinite, it can argue on that. You're pretty much arguing that since Anos can pretty much destroy infinite eternity, no matter how high it is, and destroy the very reasons of that. It doesn't matter if the 3D dimensions exist. It would imply Anos can pretty much affect beings infinitely higher than just 3D. That's your main argument. That's your main argument, okay? However, though, the reason in this case can be on that specific framework. The entire point is if you can prove this reason, this causality, this all of this eternity, this infinity can exist higher than 3D. That's presupposing it is. Dimensionality does have reasons, sure. 3D might have reasons to exist. Obviously, it has reasons to exist in that specific verse. However, that reason can be still applied to that specific framework. You have to prove these reasons in question affects dimensionalities infinitely higher than four dimensional. That's again another presupposition that you're making. So it doesn't really matter what you're trying to denote here. The implications in this case is obviously lacking some actual arguments or objective notions to this thing. Okay, just formal presuppositions is your entire basis of the argument. For the last part or whatever you're saying is to the framework, all of that, to a three-dimensional thing, all of that, it doesn't matter at this point. The entire point is that if you can prove it complex infinitely above dimensionality, which is I'm already trying to refute. And the second part is what you're trying to argue with the Anos part, is that it logically applies that okay, Anos affecting logics, reasons, all of that would imply he can affect all dimensionalities. All and above that, in this case, above reasonings, and I already refuted that, so that would be irrelevant. The relevant part in here is obviously what I'm trying to argue: dimensionality and causality, and the scaling of Anos. All right, the one that is irrelevant is what you're trying to argue with is that with the framework of remote and Mike Tyson. One of the reasons why it's irrelevant, well, it's because it doesn't matter at this point anymore. Because you're trying to argue the connotations of Anos scaling to this level, so it doesn't matter. You know what you're trying to do, Booga? Because I'm telling you right now, my phone is at 5%. So can we move on and have a conclusion, please? Or we can probably continue
All right,
postpone, or
Axiom.
we can like
All right, Axiom. All right,
ignore all of
Axiom.
this
All right,
shit,
Axiom.
please. Got it, nigga. Okay.
Let me just easily refute what you said here.
No, fuck no,
All right.
nigga. No, no, no.
Okay.
That's enough. I'm at 5%,
So,
nigga.
so,
Stop, 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 nigga.
so
I'm
you said
telling
no
you, stop.
interrupting. I could just call a concession off of you breaking the rules and
That's not a
prerequisites that you set.
concession.
Right.
That's not a
Right.
concession. That's not a
Right.
concession.
No,
It's
no,
if it's
because it's you're
unnecessary.
breaking the rules. If you break the
Okay,
rules of the dialectic, you'd actually be breaking the formal logic within the dialectic. So obviously you'd
how did
be
I break the
conceding
How
if
did
you
I
break
break the
the rules.
rules?
Don't make me call it out because you just lose. All right, Axiom.
No, I didn't.
So me
No,
and
I
you
didn't.
both agree
I don't
that
know what
to
you're
be beyond
talking about, man.
dimensionality, you must be
No,
infinitely
listen. You made a
complexively
claim. No,
above
Booga,
dimensionality.
Booga.
Right.
Listen, Booga.
So,
Please,
actually,
please,
me and
quiet,
you both
quiet.
agree
Booga,
that to
please,
be
quiet.
beyond
Quiet,
dimensionality,
Booga,
you
please.
need to be infinitely complexively above
Booga,
dimensionality,
please.
right? So then
Booga,
I
please.
prove
Talk
that
actually,
axiom
nigga. What the fuck, bro?
Anos must be above dimensionality, right? And then you deny the antecedent and say,
Nigga,
okay,
Booga, can you
prove that
please let
he's
me speak? Booga,
infinitely
wait, 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 wait,
necessarily
wait, 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 wait. If
above
you want to say this,
dimensionality
can I
because that
please
was
say
something that's being
something?
entailed
Can I
by
please
this.
say something? Can I please say something? Okay, I know you're yapping. Can I please say something? Okay, so you made a not ito. Okay, so you made an important claim, assertion, saying that I often break the fucking prerequisite. So can we go to that part? I know you're gonna repeat what you said secondly. So can we argue that one? Because obviously you're trying to make an assertion here, and I kind of conceded. That's an important thing. That's an important basis towards a dialectic. So can you just buy?
Axiom. You said in the
What?
prerequisites that we can't interrupt each other. You directly interrupted me. In fact, hey, stage, real quick. Did Axiom did he or not interrupt me when I was giving his argument to his previous argument? Did Axiom interrupt
No,
me or not?
no,
Stage,
no.
talk in
Oh,
general
okay.
chat, talk in
No,
voice
let me
chat.
talk, nigga.
Did he
No, let me
interrupt
talk,
me?
nigga.
Yes or no?
No, I didn't, nigga. What the fuck are you talking? I did not interrupt you. Okay, listen. I'm basically saying that we are repeating what we said because obviously you're repeating what you said. Then obviously it would be necessary to us to make it a conclusion. Okay, you're saying I'm interrupting you, but I'm legit just speaking to you. Please don't, because we're just repeating what I'm saying, okay? We're repeating what our arguments are, so therefore it would be circular. Obviously, it would be. That's what it is. But the main point is the prerequisites argue that we cannot interrupt each other so our points can go. But the point is the synthesis we already reached because we're being repetitive, dumb bitch. Can we like stop, please? Like, can we like get in a specific synthesis, nigga? Because I'm like 4% right now. I'm at 4%, nigga. I don't know what you're doing, Booga. But we are legit repeating what I said. This we're literally look like a circus clown here. No, fuck no, nigga. It, we agreed though, Judge. Sorry. So
I
Booga,
mean, I would like to have Bro's opinion, but it does seem that there's the only testimony
bro,
given is that you did interrupt me, so you did break the rules, so technically you did lose. But we're gonna let E yes in give his opinion. Since he's not a judge, we're not gonna refute him. So if he makes an argument,
that's
we don't have
that's
any burden to
brutality,
refute him.
nigga.
He's
That's
just gonna give his
brutality.
opinion. So we're gonna add him on stage. We're gonna add him on stage. We're gonna add him on stage. Right? E yes
Who is this
in.
nigga
How do
that
I add?
answered, bro?
How do I even add him on the stage? How do I even add him?
Booga, shut up, nigga. Okay,
How do I
hold
add
up.
him? How do you add someone on the stage? How do you drag someone on the stage?
What the fuck? Booga, I'm serious. I'm at 4%, nigga. Where the fuck? You want me to send proof? I'm legit at 4%. Booga.
So ES, how do I drag you into the debate or drag you into the
How I
stage?
drag your
Click on
balls
my
in here.
profile. You don't have the proof to move someone on the stage. Actually, may you please add some ES in to the stage, please.
Nigga, Booga,
Okay,
Booga.
continue.
It's wait one
Okay.
second. All right, I
Yeah.
can hear. Booga, it's me, brutality.
Yeah,
We know
yeah,
it's you,
I
nigga.
got that. I got that already. I'm gonna send you a friend request, by the way, because I
Okay,
think we
so
lost
can you
contact.
guys
I have
like
my new account.
wait? Hold on. Yeah, yeah. Wait, can you guys summarize like each of your arguments? Like give a conclusion
Okay, sure.
because I just
Okay, okay,
recently came
okay.
here.
Oh, if
Okay,
you'll be
never
cool.
mind. Actually, take him out the stage because, like, realistically speaking, the arguments that we made are so complex to the point like you're gonna lose battery before we're done explaining your argument.
Yeah, sure.
Sorry,
Listen,
brutality.
Booga,
Yeah.
listen, Booga. I'm at 4%. So if you mind, we can probably continue this tomorrow or never continue this at all. Because I realized how we debate. We're gonna be circular all day. uh, but yeah, I had fun, man. You're really enjoyable to debate, even when you're a pedophile. But yeah, it's really fun.
A